Rock and roll, you know how we go. On the go on the rock and roll marching. The sun was shining. Now I got a little bit of that snow. Actually snowed quite profusely, profoundly, protrudely. But here I am, yours truly, marching from downtown already. 2 hours in my march. Commencing, beginning, doing it at the beginning and the start. At the commencement with gratitude. Got a big backpack, grateful thing for my rent paid, the electricity bills paid, and got food and coffee, and you know how it is. I rock and roll it 24/7 for the butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, and firefighters, all those involved in the production and the distribution of food. Already marched a few hours today from downtown. Firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks. Seems to be an interesting restaurant there. I never been. So many restaurants here in Hawk Island, Montreal that I haven't done. And I gotta give a shout out to Hydro-Quebec workers, Hydro-Quebec, and the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks, and all involved in the production, distribution of food, you know. We gotta do it for them also. Those nurses in the daycares changing some of those diapers. Gotta include them in my march. The welders, the electricians, the plumbers. Gotta include them in my march. Yours truly, Rainbow, Dragon 24/7, artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical, theoretical analyst, and theorist with a book of the law on the toes, and auctioning everything that you see me wearing here. The jeans, and we gotta go get it on those jeans, and the plumbers, the electricians, and the butchers, the nurses, the doctors, those firefighters, LOV, and now I think I'm gonna have to get a little bit of that switch on the switch side because I'm heading northwest from downtown Montreal, from the old port. Did some rock and roll. It was snowing. There was actually a snowstorm. It's ongoing now, you know. So it's a bit of the ongoing snowstorm. So I'm gonna have to switch it up a bit and just rock and roll, you know. Pledge your legions. Dragon Army Special, Dream, public-private partnership, call to all willingly loving. My dream is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership across the collective North American civilizational complex. Oh, going high, 50-50. See, that's in the red, so you gotta slow down here because there might be children and might be people at play, you know. So turn your heads left and right before and during you cross the street, just before you start stepping on from the pedestrian to the street. Turn your head left and right, and during the process, because you never know, sometimes might come speed up a little bit, and it's possible that a citizen driver might press the accelerator instead of the brake, or the brakes malfunction. So those are possibilities which you gotta think about. And you know, it's 24/7 geopolitics, sports and fitness, and rock and roll with yours truly, and that's all we gotta get doing on the love and on the side of things, which are of course on the side of the LOV, and to do here what we gotta do, you know, all of it that we have here, the North American Civilizational Complex, the complex of the North American Civilizational Complex, and you know, freedom gotta be assured, and we gotta salute the butchers, the construction workers, the plumbers, the electricians, the bakers, all those involved in the production, distribution of food. I gotta say that I'm on these steel toes, and we gotta get it on the goes, you know. So that's what we gotta get doing with that, and so we gotta get on the love bird say, my fellow cousins there, and my family here, Quebecers, my family, Canadians, you know, coast to coast, North American collective, and you got some public workers there which need some of that LOV. Public workers changing some aqueducts. You see there in the French limited translation, which I don't mind doing a little bit of that translation because it's a real bit of work here, rehabilitation work. St. Antoine Street, you got a little bit of investment. It's gonna be from spring 2024 to autumn 2026. You got the entrepreneur, you can give him a call and say that yours truly dragging wheels to build on the Canadian-US border, the North American peoples Imperial Coliseum, the North American peoples Imperial Coliseum, the North American peoples Imperial Coliseum, the North American peoples Imperial Coliseum. You know, the North American people's Imperial Coliseum. The North American people's Imperial Coliseum. The North American people's Imperial Coliseum. On the Canadian-US border to build. The North American people's Imperial Coliseum, you know. That's how we gotta build, and that's how we gotta get doing. That's how we gotta get doing on that, you know, for the LOVE. That's how we gotta get doing, you know. So it's something which we gotta do, and gotta get the construction workers, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the grocery store clerks, and all involved in the distribution and the production of food, you know. So that's how we gotta get doing, you know. Construction workers there, we gotta give them some LOV. Electricians, plumbers, that's what we got. Running water. That's why I got that running water, and we gotta get doing on the public workers, building the aqueducts, you know. Gotta get it on steel toes, and gotta get a little bit of that work done here. Salutation to the public workers, and thank you for changing the aqueducts, the sewers, you know. They get it on that work, you know. They need some rock and roll loving, and this is for the march for them here, you know, for the XYZ, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. And I gotta meditate for their security, you know. So I do the meditations on the rock and roll side of things, and that's what we gotta get on the love, you know. Takes a little bit of loving, takes a little bit of doing, a little bit of loving, a little bit of rock and roll, a little bit of prudence, safety, you know. Liberty on the rock and roll, and that's what we gotta get doing, you know. So we gotta get exercising to get it on the now, and it's certain things which we gotta be prudent about. 47.6. So it's something which we gotta be doing on the love side of things, and that's how we gotta get doing on that, you know. We gotta get on that rock and roll side, and you know, here the workers, public workers, gotta be proud in the work, you know, gotta admire, salute, and gotta be doing on the XYZ, and that's how we gotta get doing, you know. It's clean water, man, clean water. Aqueducts. Civilization is a privilege, you know, all the work, and now see how my brain works, you know. I gotta switch it. You know, of course, in the switchy side of things, because if we gotta put into perspective that to have clean water, my place included, and all the work done in the past 20th century takes a little bit out of old school, a little bit of new school, you know. That's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta be on the transmission lines. And see, you got a little bit of brains, you got a little bit of muscle here, all these. Thank you, LOVE. Gotta send some love and some rock and roll, put on the table some hugs, some kisses, some rock and roll, some tickles, and that's how I do now, you know. Gotta give Loisel a call. Libra, I like that. Libra, liberties. And free, but you know, freedom, it says libre in French. Myself as a Quebecer Canadian, my family here, liberty, you know, is something new, eh? It's got to be tempered, it's got to be ensured, freedom's got to be ensured, liberty's got to be ensured, and we have to have some justice and second chances and compromise. All civilization is a privilege, eh? The aqueducts, the Hydro-Quebec, having electricity, having running water. Civilization is a privilege. Please, millionaires, Wall Street, give the public workers, give them a little bit of finance them some massage therapy sessions, and please, NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB, NBA, MLB, give the public workers some tickets, some free tickets. Super important to give some free tickets to the aforementioned, and that's what we got doing, and that's what we're gonna keep doing here for the workers, you know, doing a little bit of rock and roll work, you know. Gotta give a little bit of that rock and roll and all the knowledge, the brains and the muscle to do. That's what we're gonna take doing there, and that's the Louis Cyr. That's the Louis Cyr statue there. I met Louis Cyr in a past life. Louis Cyr. That's the statue of Louis Sid there. Louis Sid in a past life, That's what we gotta get doing, and see more information here. There's gonna be some work done and help build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum on the Canadian-US border, where the first match is gonna be Dragon versus Trump. The first match, inauguration match, is gonna be me fighting Donald Trump on the Canadian-US border, since have been able to continue to challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match, and have been ever since. The imposition of tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel, Canadian aluminum or steel, which occurred back in 2018, and I got those gloves in the backpack, which has about 44, almost 45 pounds in the backpack, And this is the roads from Montreal, Hawk Island. We gotta get it on the love, and gotta get it on the transmission. And what does that say on that? Yeah, it's a voting season here. Somebody wrote 10 years of bullshit. 10 years of bullshit. All because Trudeau stayed straight in power almost 10. Yeah, 2018, but October, so almost 10. The Trudeau resigned a few weeks ago, so Carney took place. My dislike, and I don't like the fact that our Prime Minister still pledges allegiance to the King of England and his heirs. The King is absent, still pledges allegiance to the King of England and his heirs. Pledges allegiance. Hey, Carney. There's Mark Carney. Nothing against my fellow citizen, brother citizen from Rainbow, independent, aspie, androgynous, pansexual, artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical, theoretical, honest, and theorist, but pledge allegiance to the King. That gotta go. And that gotta go. It's time for the Republic. It is time for the Republic. It's time for the Republic. It is time for the Republic. The North American Civilizational Collective. The Republic. Time for my DRT, debt refugee theory. Time for the Dragon Army. The Dragon Army, and Dragon Army, of course. Time for the Dragon Army. The North American Civilizational Complex. The Dragon Army, fundamentally a call to all willing, loving for a PPP, a public-private partnership, a PPP, a public-private partnership, a PPP, public-private partnership based on my to function on the principle of the SSD, the Dragon Army, that is, aka North American Imperial People's SSD, Security Service and Defense, SSD, Security Service and Defense, SSD, principle only, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, Canada, United States, fused, 21st century. I am an independent geopolitical, theoretical, analyst, and theorist who has predicted what's happening now, back in 2019, October, November 2019, I predicted an international conflagration. Back in 2019, I predicted an international conflagration based on several levels of analysis. And of course, that is what I do on the daily. Due to my neurological mental divergent condition known as Asperger's, HFA, high functioning autism, one of my special interests, part of the Trinity. Aspies like myself, our brains are different, and so we have special interest, also known as obsessive interest, although do not use the word obsessive because obsessive has a more negative connotation, and thus it's not necessarily an obsession in the traditional sense of the word. Is of course a neurological mental divergent condition which makes me and other aspies predisposed to those special interests, and my holy trinity is geopolitics, 24/7 geopolitics, rock and roll, geopolitics, rock and roll, And sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport. Dancing is my favorite sport. Dancing is my favorite sport. And that's plus 19, plus 19, plus 19. You know, we gotta get it on that rock and roll, and that's how we gotta get doing on that, and that's how we gotta get it doing on the love, you know, because that's all we got, and that's all we gotta get doing. And gotta salute the firefighters, gotta salute the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, and calling all willingly loving to implement my protocols, my initiatives. Fundamentally, my dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, is for the North American Collective to, of course, create a public-private partnership-based, two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, the Dragon Army, that DGDA, the North American Imperial Security Service and Defense Force, and the Dancing Goddess Army, the DGA, to be for security, complementary to the Dragon Army, for the Dancing Goddess Army to be for the environment, for nature and civilization, for nature and civilization, and for the civilizational complex, for Mother Nature, the DGA, Dancing Goddess Army, aka the North American Integrated Dance League, the North American Integrated Dance League, the North American Integrated Dance League, to dance for the environment and environmental education, and to plant trees, and to do a little bit of science, to do a little bit of loving, to do a little bit of science, and to do a little bit of loving, a little bit of science, and takes action, the individual action, you know, to get the individual action done. And I need to do my own part with my own recycling and compost, you know, and I'm celebrating today still 5 years since I had COVID back in 2020, between February and March, between February and March. So 5 years ago, between February and March, I had COVID. So back between February and March, I had COVID. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. You know, COVID was like death, pestilence, and disease. COVID for me, personally, was like death, pestilence, and disease. And see here, we gotta clean this. We gotta clean this. We gotta clean this for the environment, because here's gotta get cleaned, and we gotta get that DGA, Dancing Goddess Army, and we will be able to, by implementing my DRT, debt refusion theory, we will be able to. So back to what I was saying, is that of course I have predicted an international conflagration back in 2019, and of course I have done in 2019. 2019. And in 2020, I had COVID. COVID was like death, pestilence, and disease, you know? COVID. When I had COVID. I don't know what caused COVID. My trinity of theories, my trinity on COVID has been, is, and will be this. I believe it was transmitted, the coronavirus, that is. COVID was transmitted from snakes to human beings. I don't know for sure. Thus, since there's a doubt, I cannot rule out another possibility. That's my holy trinity on the origins of the COVID coronavirus. Fourth dimension, what I do know, 100%, without a doubt. 100% without a doubt. 100% without a doubt. 100% without a doubt is that before COVID in 2019, I had predicted an international conflagration. So just a few months before COVID, October, November, I am an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, and I take great pride in my work as an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, theoretical analyst and theorist, or theoretical analyst or analytical theorist, however you want to frame it. Geopolitics is my kingdom, my domain. Geopolitics is my kingdom, my domain. So geopolitics is my special interest, because again, due to Aspies, we have special interest or obsessive interest, also known as obsessive interest. So mine is geopolitics and sports and fitness. So I predicted in a general manner, not every detail by detail, but I predicted what's happening now. The current international conflagration lived now, as the snowstorm is about to commence again. I have predicted it back in 2019 in October. So ever since that date, I've been kind of in a World War III type of situation, scenario of an international conflagration. And of course, I've developed. Actually, I started years before that, but of course was developed mainly during COVID. The theory known as the Total Mobile Defense Theory, the 4 letters for the acronym, the Total Mobile Defense Theory, the T, Total, M, Mobile, D, Defense Theory, the T, Total, TM, Total Mobile, DT, the TMDT, Total Mobile Defense Theory. When those 4 letters, when there's an S at the end added after the T, M, DT, the TMDT becomes TMDTS. So there's an S added. When that becomes a system, that means that my theory is put into practice. A call for the Operation Northern Scorpion with for the ground and the hawk above to unite that for that golden dome, because we need to get that defense in case of an ICBM rockets being launched from the east or from the west. ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, and you know, we got to take into consideration, as much as I am for a world peace and a world peace advocate, we got to take into consideration and make a great notation, as I do have to. As geopolitics, I do it 24/7 every day, geopolitical theoretical analysis and theorizing is, of course, that's basically pretty much how my brain functions. Geopolitics, sports, fitness, dancing is my favorite sport. Even I'm dancing, doing some choreography now, and rock and roll. So those are my special interests. In regards to what's happening now. I have predicted back in 2019 what's happening now in a general manner, and I believe some of my theories can support what's happening now, especially the Total Mobile Defense Theory system, to be organized and done by a public-private partnership, all corporations, all organizations. The king is absent, fellow Canadians. Time for the Republic, and it's time for the fusion. Not the Trump way. It's not the way to invite Canadians. Granddaddy Trump. I'm far from being a Trump supporter. I would have voted Kamala or Biden. I would have definitely voted Biden, and I have been and will continue to challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match. But I am a pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist. My centrism is tied hand in hand with my trinity of theories. My centrism is tied hand in hand with my trinity of theories. The CIT, Citizen Integration Theory, the DRT, Debt Refusion Theory, and the DFT, the Democratic Fusion Theory, for the creation of the North American Collective Civilizational Complex. And I have predicted what's happening now. And my Total Mobile Defense Theory, it's a theory, but when we add the 5th letter, the S, when it becomes a system, that means, of course, that it's put into action. So when the system is put into action, that means that to the Total Mobile Defense Theory, we add the system. So that's why in parenthesis there's an S when I discuss it. And I don't overly discuss it, I just mention it because I cannot discuss it too much, because it's matters of national security. So that is an original, created, theoretical defense system, but mainly concocted for the North American Civilizational Complex, and it dates back to me having crossed Canada coast to coast, to when I crossed Canada coast to coast, ocean to ocean, to when I crossed Canada coast to coast, ocean to ocean, when I crossed Canada coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean back in 2017. And prior to that date, 2017, I crossed Canada coast to coast, and that event changed my life. Before that, I was depressed, I was suicidal. Crossing Canada made me establish a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians. And ever since then, consider all Quebecers, Canadians, North Americans, my brothers and sisters in the USA, because I'm not only an artist, athlete, and geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, I'm also a mystic, and just like George Patton, I believe in reincarnations. I believe in reincarnations, and I was born in the USA 3 times, and now I'm gonna go back by these stairs. I'm gonna go down by the stairs, and because now it's safe. Before it wasn't, but because they're closed for the winter, but now it's spring, although it's snowing now. I'm gonna go down by them. Just gotta be careful a little bit. And these are new, so thank you, public workers. See this? It's not locked anymore. It used to be locked, but you can, if you open it, just close it. I just didn't want to just open it and close it, whatever. Anybody want to finance that I go up and down these stairs for the Dragon versus Trump event to take place ASAP on the Canadian-US border? Let's go, me and you, Donald Trump. I've been challenging Donald Trump. It's going to be 7 years now, 7-7, and in the backpack that I'm carrying, in the big backpack, I mostly, in all of my videos, I have it on me, but sometimes it's heavier. But I always carry those red RED, those red gloves, with which I'm challenging Donald Trump to a boxing match, and have been, and that's what I'm gonna go do. And my son, the Pope King, is shining. The Pope's King is shining. The sun's shining. And anybody want to finance? I go up and down these stairs 300 times, celebrating me having performed my own workout training program system, more than 372 of my own creative workout training program system, which I created exactly in parallel when I concluded in 2019 in October, November, that humanity is again set to go towards an international conflagration in 2019 October. So that is part of my work. And of course, when I crossed Canada coast to coast, I came out of being depressed and suicidal. Anybody want to finance? Again, I go up and down these stairs, Rock&Roll, 300 times for $300 US or Canadian, and let's get the fused passport, fused currency together. And of course, when I crossed Canada coast to coast, that event changed my whole life. Before that, I was depressed. I was suicidal. I was depressed. I was suicidal prior to that date. I was really depressed, really suicidal. Crossing Canada made me have like a revelation, because I had like an awakening. I said, so many things to do, to see here. The true north, strong and free, yes, but we gotta add some love. Love for the farmers, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the truckers, the doctors, those on the cranes with steel toes building, some of those construction workers, the laborers, those welders, the plumbers, the electricians, public workers, changing the aqueducts, Hydro-Quebec workers, all the nurses, those doing some healing, doing some changing of the diapers, teaching some mathematics, teaching some geography, teaching some, perhaps starting soon, my curriculum, which is for the North American civilizational complex, of which we are a North American civilizational complex. We are emergent. That's one of my philosophies and theories. That, of course, is the People's Doctor, who presented the PhD in 2023, February, known as the privilege of civilization. Civilization is a privilege. And of course, which we gotta do, and which we gotta implement, and which we gotta be lovely about. It's gotta be beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So, back to what I was saying. Back to what I was saying, of course, is the North American Collective. It's my theory, and we are. Quebecers, Canadians, North Americans, we're a civilizational collective. Civilizational collective. So, civilizational collective. Gotta get it for the do, and I love me some red! Red. Truckers, LOV, butchers, bakers, we gotta get that freedom and liberty, and give some charity. Wall Street, billionaires, millionaires, finance the nurses, some massage therapy session, the firefighters with it, all those workers, the public workers. And I gotta say, that one ain't bad there. I don't know if it's commissioned by the city, but that was not bad. Had some red in it, but I'm not encouraging graffiti, but if it's that one's well made, I gotta say, some just have talent, so maybe if you got talent, if I'll be mayor or whatever, I'll say, hey, you got some talent, just put your talent, this is gray, let you paint, but paint something good, some flowers, some cars, some cakes, flowers, cars, some verbs, something like that. Like this one, I like the color red, my favorite with the white. It's a good one. The smiley face is the only kind of thing that I kind of agree with. Anyways, I'm not, some you just have talent. There's talent, so it's got to be channeled, just like aggression got to be channeled into art, fitness, and exercise, to channel the aggression and express, expression, I guess. But if you just mark stuff like, you got to be beautiful, got to make it nice, got to make it nice. And then, it's a lot of gray, which we can embellish. But back to me crossing Canada coast to coast. So in 2017, more than 7 years ago, I crossed Canada coast to coast. So my life kind of re-begins then, because before that I was depressed, I was suicidal. I moved from a moldy place, and I moved from a moldy place, and still on the island of Montreal, and I got a retrograde amnesia. I got memory loss, I can't remember my life prior, although I have high school diploma dating from 2023, and dating from 2003, 23 years ago, high school diploma 23 years ago, other references and other things of that nature, which of course are pertinent to me, and especially my work as an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. And here we are, on the island of the Hawk, H-A-W-K, my totem bird. Grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bill's paid, and I was able to afford to get a pizza. Gonna have some pizzas tonight. My friend, anonymous friend who was my friend because of the money, because I never had any. And if I make $1 million, I'm gonna give half. $1 billion, $1 trillion, I'm gonna give half. And how about those boots? And that's just gotta be doing, Here we gotta do some cleaning also. We got a lot of work to do, myself included. It's independent work, artistic work, all sorts of work. Independent, artistic, and philosophical as well, in many ways. Artistic, philosophical, and athletic, because I dance. Dancing is my favorite sport, and I love all general sports and fitness activity. Hockey, men's and women, and basketball, men's and women, and of course gridiron, football. Please, NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB. Please donate. And reduce the cost of the tickets by 44.9%. If the cost of the tickets has to be reduced by 44.9%, by 44.9% is my estimated cost to be reduced for the sports tickets for the venues, not just the NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB, but other general rock concerts, rap, all sorts, Meg the Stallion concerts, and Katy Perry concerts, and Kanye West. I don't know, Kanye West is still touring or not because of the controversies which are surrounding the star, and I don't know, ex-billionaire, now not billionaire anymore, whatever the case may be. Other artists, basically shows and music artists, for me and is being is. reduce the cost of the tickets for those. And back to me, I just rock and roll. I rap some, I do rap. Always rap for the butchers, the farmers, those flipping some burgers. Always rap for the butchers, the farmers, those flipping some burgers, truckers with it. Nurses, doctors, firefighters. Nurses, doctors, firefighters. Butchers, bakers, doctors, truckers. You gotta get it for that, and we gotta get it for the love. So something which we gotta be doing in an expressive manner, you know. So back to 2017, crossing Canada coast to coast made me establish a strong esprit de corps. Crossing Canada coast to coast in 2017 made me establish a strong esprit de corps. Strong esprit de corps. That changed my whole life. Before that, I was depressed, suicidal, and after that, I started developing the TM, Total Mobile Defense Theory System, and then in parallel with other theoretical papers relating to geopolitics, and of course in 2019, October, November, 2 years after, more than 2 years after, yellow flowers I love yellow flowers. Anyways, so I concluded that humanity is again set directed towards an international conflagration back in 2019. So that was my conclusion. That was my conclusion. So that was my conclusion, you know. That was my conclusion. So being that I concluded that was my conclusion, that is of course something which I had concluded, you know. So having concluded that was basically my conclusion. So I had concluded that, and having concluded that, basically due to the fact that I had concluded that, you know, concluded that was an international conflagration, and that's how we gotta get doing, you know. So basically, because that I concluded that is my conclusion. And that was, of course, my conclusion back in 2019, and that's what I gotta doing with that, and that's what we gotta get doing, you know. So that's what I concluded, and that's what I concluded back then, that humanity is set again towards an international conflagration, and so made, created, and produced a workout training program system to go hand in hand with such a scenario. And see, there they are, train conductors, and see how my brain now switches. My brain now switched. I put into geopolitical context. Seeing this train. Now that I know that the train is going west, because I'm heading west. So the train is going west, right? I know it's a CN train. I know the locomotives is time to replace them, and lots of our rails need to be replaced. We got a lot of work in North America, public transit and what have you. So I know that's going west. It might be carrying some grains, some gas, some oil, some petrol. I can speculate ad infinitum. I can speculate, but now I put it into the context of that this specific train is open for potential sabotage and espionage. It's open for potential sabotage and espionage. It's open for potential sabotage and espionage. Sabotage and espionage. Sabotage and espionage. So being that I know that it is open for sabotage and espionage, I know that it is open for sabotage and espionage. That is my knowledge. So knowing that, I put it into that context of a geopolitical analysis. Maybe some petrol, some gas, some grains, whatever the case may be. One has the Alberta on it, maybe it's going all the way to Alberta, Lethbridge. I'm not sure where it's heading because that was information I don't know, but that's why I gotta know I'm informed everything in the North American collective. The trains, the planes, and the ports and the airports. And best if we focus our security on the ports and the airports best. On the ports and the airports best. So now I'm going to discuss quickly the DRT, the debt refusion theory. Debt refusion theory as this train still moves along, because I'm on the subject, because I cannot discuss the total mobile defense theory too much. Total mobile defense theory too much. The total mobile defense theory too much. The total mobile defense theory, and when you add the S again, it's a system. It's my original thought for geopolitical defense of the North American civilizational complex of Canada, United States joint, because my call is for a PPP, Canada, United States, to create the complementary covenant and cooperative institutions for the 21st century for security, service, and defense, and the environment to dance for pleasure, and the environment to dance to dance for pleasure and the environment. And it takes individual action, and it takes collective gathering of the dirts, of the plastics that are there and all the way there. See, this is La Falaise, and see all that. We got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work. And I am financially stressed myself. I am financially stressed. But I will to build the Forgotten Goddess Temple. The Forgotten Goddess Temple, because I created me surviving the COVID, all that survived, to the goddess, G-O-D-D-S-S, to the goddess, G-O-D-D-S-S, to the goddess, G-O-D-D-E-S-S. I created me surviving COVID, surviving being depressed, being suicidal, surviving being attacked by surprise, all that I survived. I credit my survival till today, 16th of April 2025, year 121. Post the book of the law, book of the law, book of the law. Entering New Hampshire, Papa Crowley, Bearme, New Jersey, third of me, the Mount Royal, the third of me, city of the pyramids. And of course, I want to build the Forgotten Goddess Temple, G-O-D-D-S-S. Got those trillions of kisses created from the Forgotten Goddess, and got to build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum to be 11 times bigger than the place where my Super Bowl, one of my favorite top five Super Bowls, was the Blackout Ball, also known as the Harbaugh Ball. Harbaugh for the surname, Harbaugh Ball, okay, Blackout Ball. So they have the two names, or the third name, or the Bro Ball is called several nicknames. Harbaugh is the surname, Harbaugh Ball, or the Blackout Ball, where my 49ers lost to the Ravens only by 3 points, but my 49ers lost to the Ravens. So I want to build this. Now, the dome where the game Super Bowl was played between the 49ers and the Ravens, where my 49ers lost. The Blackout Ball, also known as the Harbaugh Ball, because half for like 44 minutes, almost 45 minutes or so. A long period, almost, bro. It went like exactly half was a total pitch black darkness blackout, like total pitch black blackout, total pitch black blackout for like half of it, almost like a shadow, almost on the light. One half was light and the other one was shadow. One half was light, the other one was shadow. One half was light and the other one was shadow. So basically that's what it was with that, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. So that was the Super Bowl. And now the arena center is called the arena is called, so many sixes there. So many sixes and a seven, so many sixes. I think I'm seeing blurred. Are those sixes and sevens or eight? My vision, I still gotta check my vision. Anyways, so now the place is called Caesar Superdome. It used to be known as the Mercedes-Benz Mercedes-Benz Dome. Now it's known as the Caesar Superdome, and before that it had another name. So just like yours truly, Adrian H. Dragon became Adrian Hunter Dragon. Becoming Adrian Hunter Dragon, Adrian Hunter Dragon, Adrian H. Dragon. So that's all we gotta get doing with that. And that's all we gotta get rock and rolling. And that's why I gotta get that DRT, that refusion to another, and I'm on it. I'm gonna be honest. So it is the only solution which can solve us from the current financial situation where we are. Why do I make that statement? I make that statement due to the fact that last year we paid 46.5 billion in interest. I feel the yellow, love some yellow. First feel the yellow flowers. I just love yellow flowers. You gotta excuse me, but I love yellow flowers. I just love yellow. I get excited like those little 5 clusters there, see? First field of nice yellow flowers. I'm coming back. Back. Maybe tomorrow or Friday right here. See how they're doing every day. It says their growth. Oh, so many yellow flowers. The DRT, debt refusion T. So why do I make the statement that it is the only solution to the fact that we paid 46.5 billion in interest last year? 46.5 billion, the billion has 9 zeros, that's 46,000 million. 46,000 million, right? 46,000 million, 46,000 million. So the amount which we paid in 2021, the number was 20.3 billion. 20.3 billion double is 40.6. 20.3 billion double is 40.6. 20.3 billion double is 40.6. So you notice from 20.3 to 46.5, the number more than double. Just the interest on the public debt. Just the interest on the public debt. Just the interest on the public debt. Just the interest. Interest only on the public debt. Interest on the public debt. It doubled, more than doubled. So obviously, it's on the horizon a potential public collapse of the financial. A public financial collapse is on the horizon in Canada. You realize, because our GDP, our economy did not double. So that is the principle. Our economy did not double. Our economy did not double, right? Our economy did not double. So obviously, we're gonna have to cut, reduce, cut the spending. What are we gonna cut? The public works, the sanitation workers, those picking up the garbage, the recycling, the compost. We're gonna have to cut and reduce the spending. Already there's been major cuts in the immigration center. Immigration centers, you know. So that's what we gotta do. That's what we gotta do. That's what we gotta do, you know. That's what we gotta do, you know. So that's what we gotta do. That's what we gotta do. We gotta do it. 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 So we're gonna have to take all the public and the private debt. All the public and the private debt. All the public. So again, there's no way out of this. It's a possibility for our public financial collapse. Is on the horizon, what we call in finance a black swan event. A potential black swan event, a potential black swan event. Do you realize? Well, almost did it. That's mine. Unless I turned, otherwise it would have been for the environment. Although these, well, they're not made biodegradable, but anyways. So it's just not sustainable. You cannot sustain it. You cannot sustain it. I cannot sustain it. Because the same mathematical principle applies. The financial principle applies. The financial principle applies. The financial principle applies. Just as an individual who, if my debt, interest, I don't have credit cards, I pay 10.44%. 10.44%, I pay 10.44% on a credit line. I have a credit line, I don't have a credit card. So I got $10,000 in debt and I pay 10.44% in interest. So the principle applies thereof. So that is just the principle is the same. Because of course if somebody's salary doesn't double, but if the interest, let's say for argument and mathematical calculation's sake, it goes from 156 to 333. So if it jumps from 156 to 333, if it goes and jumps from 156 to 333 because 156 double is 312. So that's double to 156 is 312. So if it jumps to 333 from 156, that's about the equivalent from what it went in the Publik from 20.3, the interest only again, 20.3 billion, it was the number in 20, and again, a billion has 9 zeros, so 20.3 billion was still very, very high, because that's 20,300 million. A billion doesn't have 7 or 8 zeros, a billion has 9, a billion is 1,000 million. A billion mathematically is 1,000 million. A billion mathematically is 1,000 million. A billion mathematically is 1,000 million. So of course, in the principle of the things, which we have on the principle, another field of yellow. Wow, love, love, love. I just love yellow flowers. I just go crazy. I just get super joyous, joyous, joyous. So again, the principal doubled, the interest doubled, more than doubled in just 3 years. And yes, due to COVID, which I had, and I thought I was gonna die. I thought really that was my last chapter. Between February 2020 and March 2020, it was like death, pestilence, and disease. It was like death, pestilence, and disease. It was like death, pestilence, and disease, and I survived COVID. I got triple vaccinated, 3 vaccines, and I keep, as the best of my possible ability, I keep the protocols and the public hygienic protocols, I keep them to the best of my ability, So, back to what I was saying, that we gotta get doing, and we gotta get on the go. So we have to implement the DRT, the debt refusion theory, the DRT. The debt refusion theory, the debt refusion theory, the DRT, the debt refusion theory, the DRT, the debt refusion theory, the debt refusion theory, the DRT, the debt refusion theory, the DRT. The debt refusion theory. The debt refusion theory. The debt refusion theory. The debt refusion theory. The DRT debt refusion theory for the creation of the unit. The universal exchange unit. Again, there's no other solution. There's no other solution. So we're gonna take all the public, again, there's no other solution. There's no other solution. You can argue all you want. You can argue all you want. We are on the verge on a public financial collapse. That's it, that's all. There's no other solution but my DRT, although there is something which has to resemble, in theory, my DRT. So there has to be a resemblance. It has to be very close to my debt refusion theory because of the numbers. Yes, due to COVID. That's why we had to implement the programs, and that's why it got so high. Due to COVID. Walking a bit backwards to being, because I'm facing the snow, so it's better for the camera if I just, it's okay. Sometimes it's good, I guess, to go backwards, although nothing that we will to go back to. I died during COVID, being reborn, and still got money to change my name officially, but gotta work on it. So the DRT explained, my DRT theory is the only solution for where we are now, because we're gonna have to cut and reduce. What are we gonna cut in the public? Those who pick up the garbage, the recycling, public sanitation, the police, the RCMP, the Mounties, the prisons. What are we gonna cut? Public services, healthcare, army, national. It's just our GDP didn't double, while the interest paid on our public debt has more than doubled in 3 years. And yes, due to COVID, we had to implement the protocols. COVID, we had to implement the protocols. COVID, we had to implement protocols for the security service. And so, back to what I was saying is, of course, back to the implementation of those protocols is, of course, that we had before. Of course, it went from 20.3 billion to 46.5. So 20.3 double is 40.6. So it more than doubled. The interest only more than doubled in just 3 years, and it's in billions. That's the problem. So we are on the verge of a public financial collapse. It could happen today when I'm reaching back. By 3 p.m. we can see it, breaking news. Public financial collapse of Canada tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. It could happen within the next hour. It can happen within the next 24 hours, 44 plus hours, within the next days. So my DRT theory is the solution, which includes in it monetary integration theory, monetary integration theory, monetary integration theory. So inside my DRT is integrated monetary integration theory. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt, my 10,000, your 10,000, their 10,000. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt, all the PPP, all the public and the private debt, all of it, all the public and the private debt, all the public and the private debt, all the public and the private debt, all the public and the private debt. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt, all the public and the private debt. We're going to take it all, the public and the private debt, all of it. My 10,000, your 10,000, all the debt, all the public private debt. We're going to take it all, including my 10,000, add it all up, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Convert all the public private debt of Canada, convert it into US dollars, into US dollars. That money, we're going to add it with the US because we have to do it. The United States is in the same public and private financial situation. So we're going to add it up, all the public and the private debt. We're going to add it up, and that number is going to be the creation of the UE. The initial money supply for a new central bank is, remember, in my DRT theory is integrated monetary integration theory, which is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union in the 90s by the creation of the European Central Bank. The European Central Bank. You know? The European Central Bank and the creation of the euro. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt. We're going to create all the public and the private debt. We're going to create all the public and the private debt. All the public and the private debt. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt, and we're going to create all the public and the private debt. The public and the private debt. We're going to create all of it. We're going to create all the public and the private debt. We're going to take all the public and the private debt. We're going to take it all, add it all together. Add it all together. All that added up. We're going to create a new currency. New currency. And we're going to call it the U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The U. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. U dot universal, E dot exchange unit. Universal exchange unit. The UE. The universal exchange unit. So that money is going to have the value of the US dollar. We're going to set an interest rate level of 10%. 10%. It could be lower than 10, 3.33, 7.18, 6.1, 9.3, 4.18, 1.11. Below 10 by principle. With that money, we're going to rebuild the North American infrastructure. We're going to rebuild the North American infrastructure, the bridges, the highways. We're going to rebuild the bridges. Going to rebuild the highways. the bridges, the highways. We're gonna build more hydroelectric dams here in Quebec, finance citizens to work out, train, exercise, mass finance citizens fitness, mass finance tourism, because tourism is great for mental health. It did me great good in 2017. And of course, mass finance the building construction of the 44 tunnels, building construction the 44 number after 43 before 45 is 44 mega tunnels inspired by the Cheyenne Mountain Complex and the Montreal Underground Village in case of a thermonuclear war, because I gotta put a notation and the question mark, how come China, People's Republic of China, not to be confused with Taiwan, made it of course that they increased their nuclear warheads and ICBM rockets by more than 40%. An estimated increase has been from the number which was estimated around 450 to about 650. About 650 or so, which was of course the number before. So that was just the number before. So that was just the number before. The number was 400 about estimated warheads and warheads, nuclear weapons, and you wonder how come since February, March 2020, in just a short amount of time, China increased massively, one would say, because it had taken them, 5 decades to build the arsenal, more than 5 decades to build 400, and then in less than 5 years, in about 4 years and a half, they added about 44% more. And the ratio of the time, construction ratio, basically they mass built nuclear weapons during COVID. It was the report came last year. CIA and NATO report, CIA report, NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which monitors military movements, military affairs, conflicts, and the NATO alliance, right? The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, formed after the Second World War. And most of my initiatives, complexes, and geopolitics is for the NATO complex. For what I call the NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization complex. The NATO complex. So that's basically what it is, and that's what I said, that we got to take into consideration all the fact that I predicted what's happening now, and in consequence to the public finances, we're going to do the DRT, create the UE. We have to do a great census. Canada, United States, great census. Canada, United States joint census. Issue a new passport. Canada, United States fused passport of the kingdom. Dragon Kingdom. I don't know about the 51st state, because we should be maybe 63. I know the king is absent. It's time for the republic. It's time for the UE. It's time for the DRT. It's time for the Dancing Goddess Army, the DGA, and the Dragon Army, both PPPs, public-private partnership. Let's go, brother citizen Bill Gates, and all my fellow Canadian community, Canadian family, Quebecer family. The king is absent. We have to do a census. The geopolitical realities is that we made enemies in the past 5 years, which are potentially nuclear armed and have solidified their alliances prior to they have not before that. And we got to come together, Canada, United States. It's not the way to invite us. I'm a democratic Republican Democrat centrist. My centrism is public-private partnership based, and my universal revolutionary centrism is tied hand in hand with my trinity of theories, the CIT, citizen integration theory, for total security and surveillance and insurance of freedom, and some joy via fitness and tourism, and of course, to see this great Canada, to see the 50 states, to intra-tourism, to get rid of the border. The border gotta go. We gotta focus on the ports and the airports. For security, everything that's coming in. The ports and the airports. Everything that's coming in. The ports and the airports. Everything that's coming in and out of Canada and the United States via the planes, in the airports and the ports. I gotta know. To do the assessment. The ports and the airports. Gotta have 24/7. It's coming now in real time in the ports and the airports of the North American Collective, and It's time for the PVP and the public-private partnership mass finance citizens to work out, train, exercise, and mass finance citizens to work out, mass finance citizens to train, mass finance citizens to exercise, mass finance citizens to work out, mass finance citizens to train, mass finance citizens to work out, mass finance citizens to fitness, mass finance citizens to tourism, and rebuild the infrastructure. Our bridges, our infrastructure need mass rebuilding, and to implement the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act. North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act, North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act, in case, and to put our brothers and sisters who lost their liberty to work on those 44. There's the hawk, white hawk, white and black. It has black, but that one is the hawk. Okay, that was the totem bird. I said North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act. Build those 44. I said 44. You just passed, kind of like an omen. Hog-headed, my lord, hog-headed, my lord, hog-headed, lower RD. So we gotta build those tunnels. Gotta get the North American Rehabilitation Act. Citizens who have been incarcerated, gotta put them to work. 44 tunnels, and implement the DRT. That refusion theory, create the UE, and you get 50-50. Yours truly, androgynous, pansexual, aspie, artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical, theoretical, analyst, and theorist. Pledge your allegiance to our family, friends with benefits only. Pledge your allegiance to our family, friends with benefits only. Pledge your allegiance to our family, friends with benefits only. And for the truckers, the bakers, the butchers, the nurses, the doctors. The DRT, debt refusion theory, for the creation of the universal exchange, and we gotta be implementing it, and we gotta be doing it ASAP. We gotta be mindful that it is the solution, as the way for us to move forward in where we are now with the geopolitical events that are transpiring now. We really have to implement the DRT, debt refusion theory, for the creation of the universal exchange unit. My brothers and sisters, there's no other way out of this, and I said that's all. Now we're gonna do some cadence. We're gonna rock and roll with our military cadence a little bit. A little shorty. I guess a little shorty, So I gotta go home, do laundry, and gotta eat, gotta do some essing, and I'm already a few hours on the march, so I'm not gonna prolong it over long, so gotta get it on the go now, so rock and roll. Ready? For the butchers, for the bakers, dragon army on the march. For the butchers, for the bakers, for the nurses and the doctors. For the truckers, dragon army. Now we march for freedom, march for loving, march for rock and roll. For the butchers, for the nurses, for the doctors, for the train conductors. Hey, for the train conductors, for the plumbers and the electricians, and the train conductors, we march in step to the left or right. Push-ups and hugs, gotta wash some feet like Jesus. Gotta wash some feet like Jesus. Although we're dragons, with some loving and some push-ups, gotta wash some feet like Jesus. We get dirty, get back clean. We get dirty, get back clean. Rock and roll, we feed machines. Fitness, it's spelled with an S. Gotta get it for the best. Nobody is born a dragon. Blood, sweat, and tears, millions of those marching steps. Do the dragon army workout. Push-ups and the squats and hawks. Push-ups and the squats and hawks. Do the dragon army workout. Push-ups and some squats and hawks. Push-ups and some squats and hawks. Do the dragon army workout. Push-ups and some squats and hawks. Gotta get it for the side. Everything will be alright. For the butchers and the plumbers, welders and the train conductors. Gotta go left or right. On the side there is a light. Where there's a light, there's a shadow. Where there's a light, there's a shadow. Where there's a light, there's a shadow. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are rainbow. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are rainbow. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are rainbow. No dragon is born a dragon. For the butchers and the train conductors. For the plumbers and the electricians. Hydro-Quebec. Go and paint. Paint and love and public works. Hey, just gotta do some work. Dragon army on the go. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. 66, give me some legions. 66, give me some legions. 66, give me some legions. True north, strong and free the north. With the land of the free and the home of the brave in the south. North and south, we need no border. Dragon army, gotta add some loving. For the lovers, for the youth, marching and ready to shoot. For our youth, march and love, ready to shoot. For our youth, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. March and love, ready to shoot. Gotta add some justice loving. Gotta add some justice loving. Loving left and out and sights. You know that is going alright. For the left and for the right. Gotta give it for the sight. Some of my dragons are black. Some of my dragons are white. Some of my dragons are rainbow. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Gotta steal on the highways. Take some pillows on the soft ways. Kisses, massages, and push-ups. Got her ready to rock and roll. Got ready to rock and roll. Goddess. Kisses from the goddess. Where the god, there is a goddess. None of that, cause we're some dragons. Our only king, the Pope, the Son. Liberty, we chosen ones. Our only Pope, the King, the Son. Liberty, we chosen ones. Our only Pope, the King, the Son. Liberty, we chosen ones. Clap the hands up towards the sky. For the butchers and the truckers and the nurses and the firefighters. We march and carry on. Plumbers and the electricians. Nurses and the cooks. Chefs! Hey, you just gotta look. Those in the fast food flipping some burgers. We cannot be bought. We cannot be bribed. We cannot be bought. We cannot be bribed. Dragon Army. We cannot be bought. We cannot be bribed. We cannot be bought. We cannot be bribed. We cannot be bought. We cannot be bribed. And out of sight. Give me some light. Give me some shadows. When I say who I am, Against General Dragon, aka Rainbow Dragon, aka the greatest cuckold in the universe. The greatest cuckold in the universe. The greatest cuckold in the universe. And although I didn't vote for Trump nor Carney, I gotta get the king some bye-byes. If I'm the greatest cuckold in the universe, maybe, just maybe, our president's the second. Maybe, just maybe, our president's the second. Maybe our president's the second. We gotta give it for the left. Gotta give it for the right. Gotta give it upside lights. Gotta give it upside dice. I don't bet and I don't gamble. That's why you just scramble eggs, scramble eggs, scramble eggs. I don't bet and I don't gamble. That's the red, 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 I said. Got the egg, put it in back. Got the egg, put in it back. For I loving me some eggs. That's the art, you know, we don't stress. Left or right, we dragon let's. Cadence, property of the Dragon Army freestyle. April 16, 2025, year 121. New era. Pledge your allegiance to our family 24/7. Dragon Army cadence. Property of the Dragon Army. Nobody's born a dragon, you become one. Pledge your allegiance. Property of the Dragon Army. Nobody's born a dragon, you become one. Nobody's born a dragon, you become one. Pledge your allegiance. Gotta go and gotta see. For the left or right you be. For the butchers and the train conductors and the bus drivers. And the bus drivers. And the bus drivers. And the bus drivers and the cooks and those flipping burgers, cheeseburgers, hamburgers. That's the lion, gotta see. That's the lion, gotta see. That's the lion. Electric bus right there. Let's build some more of those, Dragon Army. For total security and liberty. That's a nice yellow, yellow, yellow. And I gotta get it doing. And we gotta switch to that French because we liable, Privee. And gotta get doing on that. And gotta get it on the yellow side of things. And gotta get on that time clock. Grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee. And food and coffee, got rent paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and we got to switch it to that French because we'll upgrade Privee, encouraging all to work out, train, exercise, working on training, exercising. Has-beenism will be my medicine and therapy of choice. Salute the firefighters. Somebody got to sing for our boys and girls in blue and nobody perfect. That includes that me and you, and for my brothers and sisters who do their second chance criminal rehabilitation. Let's go rock and roll. Bienvenue. Je suis parti à la marche. Déjà, ça fait bien un couple d'heures, puis je me dirige chez nous. J'ai la gratitude, j'ai payé mon loyer, payé mon facture d'électricité en saluant les camionneurs, les boulangers. Dans les boulangeries, tous ceux qui sont bien sûr, qui font le ménage, tous qui font le nettoyage, qui font la nourriture, le compostage, puis les travailleurs publics qui changent les aqueducs pour qu'on ait de la mer, de l'eau potable, pour pas que ça... Pour pas qu'on boit de l'eau qui n'est pas bonne. Puis prendre un bain, puis prendre la douche. Je vous encourage, Québécois et Québécoises, à faire de l'entraînement physique. L'entraînement physique a été seulement médecine et thérapie de choix. Et je me dirige vers chez nous, chez moi, pour... J'ai acheté en spécial la pizza à 3,99$ de 400 grammes. C'était 385 grammes. C'est pas vraiment 400 grammes quand même, mais quand même, j'ai réussi à m'acheter de quoi dans un budget que je fais. Je vis vraiment en crise financière. Puis vraiment, cette crise financière dans laquelle je vis, c'est quelque chose que je dois bien sûr me penser au quotidien, car moi, vous savez qu'avec l'autisme, mon fonctionnel, ça aussi connu d'Asperger's, avoir de l'emploi, puis avoir de l'emploi. J'ai eu bien de l'emploi, mais ça n'a pas duré longtemps, une couple de semaines, une couple de mois, mais en temps partiel, des choses comme ça. Je suis toujours à la recherche, je viens de faire imprimer, de créer curriculum vitae, fait que c'est des choses de moi-même que j'engendre, puis j'en fasse pour la communication, bien sûr, que ça soit d'aujourd'hui, puis j'encourage à faire l'entraînement physique, mais depuis que j'ai eu la COVID en 2020, ça fait 5 ans, je vis comme ça serait le dernier jour que je vis, mais je vis quand même avec cette différence, cette condition de neurodivergence. J'ai une condition de neurodivergence, j'ai une condition de neurodivergence, une condition de neurodivergence qui fait que j'ai certaines choses que j'ai de la misère. Les Asperger, nous, les Asperger, on a de la misère en certaines choses, mais je fais partie d'une petite minorité. Hein. Il n'y a pas beaucoup de gens qui ont l'Asperger. C'est une fraction de la population. C'est vraiment une petite minorité de 0,44%. C'est moins que la moitié d'1%. C'est même pas un pourcentage, même pas 1% là, de la population. Fait que c'est comme 1 sur moins que 300 personnes. Là. C'est rare. Notre cerveau est différent. La manière que la construction de notre cerveau est différente. Fait que certaines choses, on a de la difficulté, comme, permettons, je vous donne un exemple concret, tu sais, l'espace personnel. Il faut toujours que j'y travaille toujours, tu sais, l'espace personnel, parce que avec l'espace personnel, c'est toujours ça en compte. Je peux me rapprocher tellement proche d'une personne que cette personne-là va avoir une réticence. Une réticence. Il va avoir une réticence. Fait qu'il va avoir peut-être des angoisses. Va penser qu'il est en danger. Elle, lui, le citoyen est en danger. Moi, j'aime pas la violence. J'aime pas du tout la violence, mais tournez votre tête de gauche à droite quand vous traversez la rue, avant que vous traversez, puis jusqu'à quand vous vous rendrez à l'autre. Fait que, tu sais, il y en a des gens qui vont penser que c'est de la violence, ou quelque chose comme ça, puis c'est pas de la violence, ou des choses de l'agression, ou des choses de... C'est juste que, tu sais, comme l'espace personnel, il faut toujours que je travaille, tu sais. Avant, tu sais, que je m'approchais tellement proche des citoyens et citoyennes, comme en 2-3 pouces, là. Tu sais, des choses comme l'espace personnel, tu sais, la société, la communication, interaction de communication peut être étrange un peu, parce que ces choses-là, que les normes de la société peuvent être plus difficiles. Fait que nous, on comprend pas dans ce... Je pense parce qu'on comprend pas dans le sens que notre cerveau, puis comme on connaît, c'est plus difficile. Ces choses-là viennent plus difficiles. Fait que j'ai de la misère. Puis bien des Asperger ont de la misère. Puis il y a bien des gens qui pensent que c'est une maladie mentale. C'est pas une maladie, l'Asperger, l'autisme ou le malfonctionnel, c'est pas une maladie. C'est pas une maladie dans le sens qu'il y a un traitement. Il faut juste faire la gestion des symptômes. C'est pas des symptômes, encore une fois. Correction. C'est pas des symptômes, c'est des caractéristiques. Fait que, parce qu'il n'y a pas de médicaments, il faut juste faire la gestion de mes caractéristiques quand je fais affaire, fais l'amour, fais le travail quand je communique avec les neurotypiques. Parce que notre cerveau, il est juste fait différent. Pas une question de mauvais, mais dans certaines choses, je suis moi-même, puis comme bien des Asperger, des autistes fonctionnels, les Asperger, on a de la misère. C'est sûr qu'on peut être vulnérable dans certaines choses, parce qu'il y a des choses qu'on ne comprend pas. On peut être vulnérable, on peut être comme... vulnérable, on peut avoir la difficulté, avoir la difficulté, mais avoir la difficulté dans les choses d'interaction sociale. On n'a pas les mêmes capacités. On peut avoir comme un retardement, on peut l'appeler de même, là, si vous voulez, mais on est moins capable, là. On est moins capable dans ces choses-là, mais il faut juste nous le dire. Puis des fois, nous-mêmes, on est direct, t'sais. On est fait dans ces choses d'être direct, tu sais. C'est sûr qu'il faut avoir prendre prendre soin pour dire, ben, tu sais, c'est pas parce que je veux offenser les Asperger, c'est pas parce qu'on veut offenser les gens, mais des fois, on n'a comme pas de filtre. On n'a pas de filtre, fait qu'on va dire des choses, des mots, du vocabulaire, ou des choses directes qui sont belles, les fleurs, là. Sont belles, du vocabulaire. Un vocabulaire quand même assez direct, fait que ça peut offenser les gens. C'est pas parce qu'on veut être méchant, on veut offenser ou des choses comme ça, là. Mais c'est juste que notre cerveau, des fois, tu sais, on est direct, on doit le dire. On doit le dire, fait que... On doit le dire de cette manière, puis... De cette manière qu'on dit, tu sais, puis... De cette manière qu'on dit. De cette manière qu'on dit. De cette manière qu'on dit, de cette manière laquelle qu'on dit. De cette manière qu'on dit, de cette manière laquelle qu'on dit, laquelle qu'on dit, de cette manière de laquelle qu'on dit, la manière laquelle qu'on dit. Fait que dans cette manière, bien sûr, qu'on soit de convergence, c'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il faut qu'on leur fasse ici. Il faut que je traverse la rue maintenant. La prudence, fait qu'il faut que j'aie de la prudence moi-même, tu sais, pour en traverser, tu sais. Fait qu'il faut toujours que je sois prudent, tu sais. Fait que dans cette question, c'est sûr que sur la question de l'Asperger, je fais partie de cette minorité. Je suis différent, mais je suis suis pas méchant. J'essaie le mieux possible d'être un bon samaritain. C'est quand même en ça que ça se trouve, tu sais. C'est quand même en ça que ça se trouve, tu sais. Mais il faut que j'aie du discernement aussi, puis j'ai fait bien du travail, hein. Ben du travail, dernières 44 mois et plus, dernières 45 mois, là, j'ai fait bien du travail sur moi-même parce que ça faisait bien des années qu'on m'avait diagnostiqué, qu'on me l'avait dit, mais t'es autiste, t'as l'autisme mouvement fonctionnel, t'as l'Asperger, fait que t'es différent, tu sais. T'es différent, fait que t'as cette différence. T'as cette différence. Fait que je suis différent, je vis avec ça, je vis avec mes cicatrices, je vis avec la perte de mémoire, mais je suis quand même joyeux, content. Je suis pas une personne qui... Tu sais, je vis juste une crise financière. J'ai appris à me maîtriser quand même le plus possible. J'y travaille au quotidien, hein, parce que c'est constamment... Mon cerveau s'en va vers la géopolitique, constamment s'en va vers l'entraînement physique. Le sport, la danse, c'est mon sport préféré, puis l'entraînement que je préfère, c'est la danse, puis le rock&roll. Fait que ces trois choses-là qu'on appelle les intérêts spéciaux, c'est constamment, c'est 24 sur 24. C'est 24 sur 24. La géopolitique, puis je prends beaucoup de fierté. Je suis un artiste, athlète, philosophe, analyste et théoricien en géopolitique. Je dois dire même que j'ai prévu la situation actuelle qui se déroule en ce moment en 2019. En 2019, je l'ai prévu, la situation qui se déroule en ce moment. Fait que moi-même, je fais beaucoup de travail sur moi-même. Puis bien sûr, j'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant d'une manière générale, puis j'ai même la théorie qui peut nous sauver, bien sûr. C'est un paradoxe quand même, là, parce que j'ai quand même souffert en cause de l'Asperger, mais où qu'on est rendu maintenant, j'ai prévu la géopolitique, c'est mon royaume, c'est mon domaine, c'est qu'est-ce qu'on appelle l'intérêt spécial, soit aussi connu comme l'intérêt obsessif, mais obsessif, ben bon, c'est plus négatif dans le sens. Parce que moi, je préfère de dire l'intérêt spécial. Parce que c'est vraiment ça. C'est une obsession, c'est plus négatif, tu sais. Mais c'est pour les aspects, ça peut prendre... Peut-être, mais c'est sûr que ça peut faire interférence avec les autres choses du quotidien. Parce que des fois, je perds du temps. Tu sais, je perds du temps. Fait que je peux négliger d'autres choses. Je peux négliger d'autres choses. C'est ça le problème. Je peux négliger d'autres choses. Fait que ça prend du soutien dans ces choses-là. Fait que je peux négliger certaines choses. Tu sais, mettons la maison, mais si on me le dit, ben je le fais. Si on me le dit, ben je le fais. On me le dit, je le fais. C'est juste que mon cerveau, c'est comme penser à une application, tu sais. Parce que notre cerveau est différent. Fait que pour moi, je suis un individu avec l'Asperger. C'est sûr que l'intérêt spécial, c'est peut-être l'histoire, c'est peut-être les autobus, c'est peut-être les transports publics, c'est peut-être les travaux publics, c'est peut-être d'autres choses, tu sais. Mais pour moi-même, c'est la géopolitique. Même maintenant, vous voyez, ça clique, ça switch. Fait que là, je mets dans le contexte de la géopolitique cet autobus. Parce que je sais qu'on s'est fait des ennemis puissants. Des ennemis puissants puis qui peuvent nous faire du sabotage, hein? Peuvent faire de l'espionnage puis du sabotage. On est rendu à ça, où qu'on est rendu, jamais auparavant, on a eu cette situation de la géopolitique. Ben c'est sûr que, OK, la Deuxième Guerre mondiale, là, Première, Deuxième Guerre mondiale, parce qu'on était en guerre ouverte, mais là, quand même, hein, on est rendu à ce point qu'on a des ennemis puissants à cause de qu'on s'est impliqué d'une manière. Puis, bien sûr, mes protocoles, mes théories pour le collectif de la civilisation nord-américaine, pour la collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, pour le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, pour le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, tu sais, pour le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, pour le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord. Bien, c'est ça, bien sûr que c'est quelque chose que moi-même, tu sais, pour le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, pour le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, pour le collectif nord-américain, mes théories et mes protocoles sont la théorie et les protocoles, bien sûr, pour l'implémentation, pour la sécurité, pour le service, pour la défense, parce que je suis québécois, canadien, nord-américain. Fait que c'est ça que je connais. T'sais, même si je connais quand même à cause des lectures, de l'information par télévision, des nouvelles, les nouvelles et toutes les autres chaînes, c'est sûr que ça reste que je suis québécois, canadien, nord-américain. Personnellement, c'est chez nous. Je ne me considère pas un membre d'une diaspora. C'est ma famille, le Québec, les Canadiens, les Nord-Américains, parce qu'on constitue un collectif. Mais bon, c'est, tu sais, les transports en commun, là, les transports en commun, puis les choses comme ça, sont ouverts au sabotage, tu sais. C'est ouvert au sabotage. C'est toutes des potentialités, ça. C'est potentiellement. Moi, j'aimerais ça peinturer ici. Je mets de la peinture rouge, blanche, quelque chose. Bleu, orange. Je sais pas si c'est gris, genre. Chaque fois que je passe, j'imagine que ça soit orange ou quelque chose. Je sais pas, c'est trop gris, là. C'est gris, tu sais. J'aimerais ça mettre quelque chose d'autre, tu sais. Je sais pas. Juste emmenez-moi les pinceaux, je vais faire le bénévolat, là. Puis je vais tout peinturer ça. Rouge, noir, blanc, rouge, et quelque chose de couleur, là. Je sais pas, je trouve ça gris. Je trouve ça vraiment gris, tu sais. C'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il faut que... c'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il faut que je fasse moi-même, tu sais. C'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il faut que je fasse moi-même, tu sais, dans ce point de vue-là. Ben, c'est gris, tu sais. C'est gris, tu sais. En tout cas, juste emmenez-moi les pinceaux, la peinture, la bureaucratie, bien sûr. Ben, c'est quelque chose qu'il faut que ça soit, tu sais, quand même de la paperasse, là. Mais je peux la faire du bénévolat, là, parce que je passe souvent, fait que je vais m'hydrater, puis je vais discuter de la TRD. Mais encore une fois, tu sais. Oh yeah. Fait que même, tu sais que maintenant que je regarde le train, ça fait partie du transport public, je sais qu'il s'en va vers l'est. J'ai pas d'autres informations, tu sais, où qu'il y a de la production, tout ça, mais je le mets dans un contexte de la géopolitique, tu sais. Je le mets dans... Je le mets dans un contexte de la géopolitique. Fait que je sais qu'il est ouvert, c'est des ouvertures au sabotage. Des ouvertures à l'espionnage, puis au sabotage, c'est possible, tu sais. C'est des possibilités, là. Aujourd'hui, où qu'on est rendu, mais... En tout cas, prêtez allégeance les gens, vous êtes famille, puis soutenez votre artiste, athlète, philosophe. Analyste et théoricien en géopolitique. La géopolitique, c'est mon royaume, puis pensez-y comme un, tu sais, le cerveau des Aspergers, pensez-y comme un logiciel. Pas un logiciel, mais mettons que c'est comme une application. Application du téléphone. C'est l'application du téléphone, bien sûr, ça fait que d'une manière, bien sûr, que ça soit de cette manière, que c'est juste dans mon cerveau, ça fait bien sûr. La plupart des énergies, des forces et des énergies sont reliées, s'en vont vers la géopolitique. Fait que ces énergies-là s'en vont vers la géopolitique. Fait que moi, c'est constamment, c'est du matin au soir, l'analyse, la théorie, je rentre chez nous le matin, je peux pas m'entraîner. Des fois, je fais le lavage, je fais ci, puis ça, puis ça prend comme des heures, tu sais. Ça prend des heures, des fois ça peut me prendre des heures, là. Je peux passer des heures juste à faire de la géopolitique, l'analyse en arrière, au retour, en avant. Tu sais, c'est ça qui se passe. La géopolitique en arrière, au recul, à l'avance. C'est 24 sur 24, c'est quand même 24 sur 24, là, l'analyse de la théorie en géopolitique. Puis j'ai prévu la situation actuelle qui se déroule en ce moment. Je l'ai prévu en 2019. Je prends beaucoup de fierté dans mon travail relié à la géopolitique. Je suis un analyste et théoricien en géopolitique indépendant. J'ai fait beaucoup d'analyses de théories et bien sûr beaucoup d'analyses des théories reliées à ces choses-là. Relié à l'analyse et la théorie de la géopolitique, relié à les analyses et la théorie de la géopolitique. Puis tout ce qu'il y a à faire dans la géopolitique, c'est ça, ça englobe l'économie, les finances, la sécurité, la culture, même la religion. Même la religion, même quand même, on peut dire, mais ça peut contenir même quelque chose qui a rapport, bien sûr, avec les poubelles, tu sais. Ben, parce que ça fait partie du ramassage, là, je parle des travaux publics, là. Parce que les finances reliées aux travaux publics, la culture des travaux publics, la condition du travail public. Moi, j'ai 3 services dans mon quartier. J'ai le ramassage, du compostage, du recyclage, le compostage, le recyclage, le recyclage, compostage, recyclage et bien sûr les poubelles. Fait que c'est 3 services. J'ai travaillé moi-même sur le travail du compostage. Et bon, c'est des choses que moi-même je dois faire. Fait que là, je dois discuter la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, parce que je suis sur le sujet, puis bien sûr, ça fait partie de ce qu'on est rendu dans mes démarches, puis dans mon travail en tant qu'analyste et théoricien en géopolitique. Et donc, je dois dire que c'est la seule et unique solution, la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, car le fait que l'année passée, on a payé 46,5 milliards sur la dette publique. Je viens de dire un chiffre énorme, 1,1 milliard. Fait qu'on a payé 46,5 milliards l'année passée sur la dette publique. Le chiffre, il a plus que doublé en seulement 3 ans à cause de la COVID, les programmes qu'on a dû implémenter, les protocoles. C'est sûr que c'est à cause de ça, mais ça a plus que doublé, là. C'était plus que double. En 2020-2021, le chiffre, c'était 20,3 milliards. Fait qu'il n'y a pas d'autre solution, puis on est à veille d'avoir un effondrement. Même là, il est 3 heures. 3 heures. Passer 3 heures, peut-être 3h13 maintenant. PM l'après-midi, c'est sûr, mais peut-être là, ça se passe. Peut-être demain matin. Peut-être demain matin. Peut-être demain après-midi. Dans les 10 heures, jours, semaines, mois à venir. Sur l'horizon, là, il il y a un potentiel effondrement des finances publiques parce que l'intérêt qu'on paye sur la dette publique, ça a plus que doublé. Là. Imaginez-vous, et c'est beau ça, c'est un beau bleu, ça a plus que doublé. Fait que, évidemment, en tant que citoyen aussi, si on fait le même parallèle des finances publiques, c'est bien sûr le même parallèle des finances publiques. Un citoyen qui a une dette à payer, puis que l'intérêt qu'il paye, c'est 156 $. Si ça saute à 333, si ça saute à 333 $, ça veut dire que 156 fois 2, c'est 312. Ça, c'est le double. Ça, c'est le double. Ça, c'est le double. Ça, c'est le double. Fait qu'il faut que vous soyez dans la même trajectoire puis faire les calculs mathématiques. Là. C'est sûr qu'en principe, 312, c'est le double de 156. Fait que si c'est 333, ça veut dire que le citoyen doit couper dans le budget. Il faut que ça coupe dans le budget. Il faut que ça coupe parce que, à moins que le salaire double, faites attention à la route, là. Ça, aujourd'hui, ça est prudent parce que ça glisse, puis on dirait qu'il y a des tempêtes, des tonnerres, du verglas, de tout un peu aujourd'hui. Fait que la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, bien sûr, c'est la TRD. La TRD qui peut nous sauver, ben c'est la seule et unique solution, quelque chose qui ressemble à ma TRD. Qui ressemble à ma TRD, à la TRD, tu sais. Parce que l'intérêt qu'on a payé l'année passée, c'était 46,5 milliards. 1 milliard, c'est à 9 millions. Ça quantifie en tant que chiffre 46 000 millions, parce qu'un milliard, c'est à 9 zéros. Fait qu'imaginez-vous, là. C'est 9 0. C'est 1 milliard, c'est à 9 zéros. 9 zéros. Fait qu'imaginez-vous, bien sûr, que c'est un chiffre énorme. Fait que dans ce chiffre, bien sûr, ça a plus que doublé en 3 ans. C'est sûr qu'à cause de la COVID, de 20,3 milliards, 20,3 fois 2, ça aurait été 40,6. 40,6. 40,6. 40,6. 40,6. 40,6. Fait 40,6, ça c'est 20,3 fois 2, c'est 40,6. Fait que le chiffre, c'est 46 milliards. 46 milliards. Fait que bien sûr qu'il va falloir qu'on coupe dans les finances publiques aussi, parce que c'est plus que double. C'est sûr qu'à cause de la COVID, puis moi-même, j'ai survécu la COVID. Hein. Je pensais que j'allais mourir. J'étais comme la mort, la pestilence, la maladie. C'était comme la mort, la pestilence, la maladie. C'était comme la mort, la pestilence, puis la maladie. C'était comme... La mort, la pestilence, la maladie. Je me suis fait vacciner 3 fois. J'ai survécu. Et bien sûr, j'ai survécu. Et ayant survécu, je prends comme si ça serait les derniers jours, à chaque jour. Je vis comme si ça serait mon dernier jour. Comme si ça serait mon dernier jour, à tous les jours. Fait que la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est la seule et unique solution, il n'y a pas d'autre solution. Fait que là, je vous l'explique. On va prendre toute la dette publique-privée, incluant mon 10 000 de côte à côte. On va faire la conversion. On va faire conversion de toute la dette publique-privée du Canada. On va changer avec devise des États-Unis. Il faut qu'on fasse la TRD, implémentation de la TRD, en même temps avec les États-Unis. Fait que toute la dette publique-privée, ensemble. Toute cette dette-là, ça va être en des milliards. Tout cet argent-là, ça va faire la création d'une nouvelle monnaie, l'unité d'échange universelle. La création de l'unité d'échange universelle. Unité d'échange universelle. L'unité d'échange universelle. Unité d'échange universelle. Unité d'échange universelle. Unité, un point échange ou point universel. Unité, un point échange ou point universel. Unité d'échange universel. Le unité, point échange universel. L'unité d'échange universel. On va mettre un taux d'intérêt de 10%. Avec cet argent-là, on va rebâtir l'infrastructure du collectif nord-américain. On va bâtir le Colisée du peuple impérial sur la frontière Canada-États-Unis. Et moi et Donald Trump, on va boxer sur la frontière pour l'inauguration de ce méga complexe de sport 24/24. Et bien sûr, on va bâtir plus de centrales d'Hydro-Québec, bâtir plus de centrales, bâtir bien sûr plus de centrales, bâtir plus de tunnels. Les 44 tunnels dans le cas d'une guerre thermonucléaire, on va devoir les bâtir. On va bâtir bien sûr les aqueducs, rebâtir les aqueducs, les ports, l'infrastructure. On va faire un passeport commun, on va faire un grand recensement. Avec les États-Unis, un grand recensement. On va faire un passeport commun, puis on va se focusser puis diriger la sécurité de la gauche à droite, les ports, les aéroports, puis on va faire la fondation. On va construire 44 tunnels et on va bâtir bien sûr les 44 tunnels dans le cas d'une guerre thermonucléaire. On va bâtir plus de centrales d'Hydro-Québec. On va financer les gens au tourisme, financer la reconstruction de l'infrastructure, les ports, les aqueducs, les travaux publics. On va financer les gens à faire du tourisme parce que moi, quand j'ai traversé le Canada, ça m'a fait sortir de ma dépression. Fait qu'on va financer le tourisme, l'entraînement physique et les deux institutions de partenariat public-privé, soit l'armée du dragon pour la SSD, principe, les légions du collectif nord-américain, pour la SSD seulement, pour la sécurité, pour le service, pour la défense, pour la sécurité, pour le service, pour la défense, seulement pour la sécurité, pour le service, pour la défense, par le principe de la SSD, sécurité, pour le service, pour la défense. SSD, sécurité, service, défense, le principe de le service de la SSD, la sécurité, le service, puis la défense. L'armée du dragon, soit les légions, bien sûr. Parallèlement, l'armée de la déesse qui danse. L'armée de la déesse qui danse pour l'environnement, pour planter plus de plantations, des arbres, faire les ramassages des poubelles, faire du nettoyage dans le public. Bien sûr, faire de l'éducation pour l'environnement. Comme ceux-là, il faut que ça soit mis dans le déchet ou dans le recyclage. Et bien sûr, tournez votre tête de gauche à droite quand vous traversez, parce que des fois, les freins fonctionnent mal. Des fois, les freins fonctionnent mal. Et bien sûr, c'est les fonctions des freins, bien sûr, qui fonctionnent mal. Les freins où le citoyen pèse sur l'accélérateur. Oui, ça, c'est de la pollution que ça lance. Pollution. Fait que la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, pour la création de l'unité d'échange universel, vous pouvez vous ostiner tant que vous voudriez, mais c'est la seule et unique solution. C'est la seule et unique solution. Il n'y a pas d'autre solution, mais quelque chose qui ressemble à ma TRD, oui. La théorie de la refusion de la dette, il faut que ça se ressemble à cette théorie pour le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord. On va faire un grand recensement, on va faire une union avec les États-Unis parce que le roi est absent. Le roi est absent. C'est le temps pour la République, c'est le temps, ça reste dans le 19e siècle, le roi et tout ça, le 20e siècle. Ça n'a plus d'affaires. Je pense qu'on est rendu à un point où il faut qu'on avance de l'avance là, pour oublier ça de notre... Il faut qu'on va vers le 21e siècle, un partenariat public-privé. Et bien sûr, je vais voir comment je suis dans le rouge. Merci, how much is... Prêter allégeance Légion. C'est une famille, ouais, il y a la baie, la poussière. Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé ici avec la poussière? So much dust. Dust. So much dust. Whew. Fond du renouveau, mais je pense que c'est nocif. I think there's a danger. There's so much dust here. I'm a piece of dust also. Moi aussi, je suis de la poussière, mais Rock&Roll. Can't dispense. No, I'm gonna go somewhere else. Really kick pardon. So cannot disperse cash, although I just wanted to take like 10 out because probably I'm in the red, so maybe that's 10 or 20 which I can afford, un 20, un 10 pour acheter de la nourriture, mais that's it, that's all. Gonna rock and roll and let's get going with that, and so we're gonna get drilling and we're gonna go doing, so